Well, we will deal with it. We will figure it out. And coming up right now on Let's Go, we're going to switch gears here. It's 3:10. Welcome to the Tuesday edition of the show. You know, they say good things come to those who wait. Well, a singer-songwriter from Brossard, he can finally say that now his fourth album is out. We're going to get a taste right now. Welcome. It's New Music Tuesday. Duke Eatmon is here for another installment of New Music Tuesday. Hi, Duke. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you, Sabrina. You know, we try very best. I'd say 90% of our installments of New Music Tuesdays is Montreal talent.
Yeah, local talent right here.
We have some more local talent just on the other side of the bridge on the South Shore in Brossard. We just heard the title track from an album that just came out a couple of months ago. It's called Nautilus. It is my honor and privilege. And, you know, he actually has a following because I did a tease a couple of months back, and it's incredible how many people in this city on my social media either went to high school with him or are fans of what he does, including filmmaker and author and playwright Christine Rodriguez, who says he's fantastic. She grew up with him, went to high school with him, and she's so happy he's got a new record out. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mr. Hemant Rao. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's wonderful to be here.
Welcome, Hemant. Great to have you.
Nautilus, one of my favorite cuts on the album. It's the title track. Talk to us about that song. Is it a concept or is it just one of the songs that you decided to call the album? Is there a concept behind this record?
The concept to me was to do things completely differently from all my previous albums. That was the mantra of this album. So,
now, how would this album differ? Describe it and how it would differ from your previous releases.
That was the question I was hoping you would ask. So I would say, you know, I was born in Montreal, but moved to Vancouver.
Yes.
And in Vancouver, when I moved there, it was the age of DIY, do it yourself.
Right.
So we learned how to engineer our own records, produce our own records, arrange our own records.
There's no engineers out in Van City, or what was going on?
Well, there were, but it was one of the way things were done, because one of the advantages of doing it yourself is you can take the time to
and you have more
right.
control too, right? You're not at the disposal of somebody else who's going to maybe change what you originally had intended for the album or a song or whatnot.
Indeed, and you're not watching the clock all the time.
Right, not costing you.
Indeed. But sometimes that approach means that you almost spend too much time.
Right.
And when you do things in more of a traditional studio, then you have the spontaneity. And I've discovered as I get older and, you know, time becomes more precious, that spontaneity of music is probably the most important thing.
Well, also, and I've had this discussion, we had Leon, who's an incredible black female heavy metal artist, and she just released her album. And 2 years in the making of this, like 4 or 5 song EP. And I said, in a way, I said, it's fantastic. I'm loving the songs, but it's sort of like a perversion of the culture, because this rock and roll thing, it's meant to just be done right away, put it down, boom, next, right? I mean, it's not Mozart, it's not Brahms, right? So it gets to a point where, listen, you know you wrote a song from the heart, you like the lyrics, you like what you're doing. Did you sort of redevelop a new approach? Like, you know what, let's just do this. Let's not spend years on this. This is still rock and roll. It's supposed to be quick and spontaneous.
I actually learned this from the producers that I worked with for this new album. So the first session was actually in London, and basically that's how it worked, is they roll the tape.
Right.
You're with the musicians and you perform the song, and then even the vocal tracks, 3 takes, and they edit it together, because the producers feel that you usually get your best, most honest vocal takes in those three takes. Yeah. Which I loved, because the faster you can get it done, the faster you can go out and do some rollerblading or whatever else you have to do.
Well, you're in London, you can go see Big Ben, you can go to a chipper, get some fish and chips, hang out at Buckingham Palace if that's your thing. You know.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about more about this. It's your 4th album. So this was recorded in London, UK, also in Los Angeles.
That's right.
Tell me about some of the musicians featured on here.
Oh, incredible.
I don't think we have enough time, but
that's the problem. So for the Los Angeles sessions, the London sessions I played the guitar parts on, but for the Los Angeles sessions, it started with the producer saying, would you be open to other guitar players playing on this? And I said, absolutely, because I want to do things differently. I want to get different layers of different people's interpretations of the music. So indeed, there was quite a cast, and that producer was originally a session bass player, so he knows everyone in LA.
Right.
So, we could cut to the chase as
far as...
The
LA mob, they call it, the LA mob.
That's right. One of the songs, he said, what are you hearing? And I said, this song, I hear the feel of Heart of Glass from Blondie.
Right.
And he said, well, why don't we just get the Blondie drummer in? And that's what happened. So that was the real ringer. There's some other fabulous superstar musicians on here.
And his name is, of course?
Clem Burke.
Right.
And I'm so happy that we had this interview today, because we're coming up on Clem Burke's passing. It's been a year,
right.
April 6th. So I really appreciate this opportunity to express my gratitude to have worked with him.
So let me ask you.
Yeah.
You're an independent artist.
Mm-hmm.
You're releasing your material on your own. Mm-hmm. You're flying out to LA. You're flying out to London. You're bringing in Blondie alumni and whatnot. It costs money. How do you do this as an independent artist? It's not easy, not cheap.
It's not easy. And luckily, it was recorded over a few years, because
right.
we started this album, then the pandemic hit, which, musicians had to retool, figure out new things to do, social media. I developed some. I had no social media skills before then. That gave me the time
right.
to find my resources.
You didn't get a big bill all at once.
No. And really, once you decide to do something, you'll find a way to do it.
Right.
When it's in your heart, you'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm. You're from the South Shore, but you basically present yourself as a Montrealer. Tell us about your origins in the city and your background and all that.
Grew up in Brossard.
Right.
And
I love that area, by the way.
It's, when I moved back from Vancouver, I had little misgivings about that thing of kind of, it feels like you're going backwards. But in the end, I came back to help out family,
right.
which in some strange ways is the best work you can ever do. So I think there was some karma in that, moving back to Brossard and helping parents, because a lot of things happen with the help of some Montrealers that I met here.
Beautiful.
Connections I met as I was playing.
They call that karma.
Yes, yes.
Talk to me about some of your musical influences, because I hear a lot of different things. I hear the Fab Four. I don't know if they were an influence, but I hear elements of it in your music. Who were you into?
It depends on what we're talking about. If we're talking about guitar playing, then it's more of the rock thing like Led Zeppelin.
Right.
And then from that...
So you're a Jimmy Page fan.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And then into the progressive stuff like Yes.
Right.
And strangely enough, because I'm from an Indian background, my parents were listening to Indian classical music, and I was studying classical violin when I was a kid. So,
Well, I hear some of the modal or the drone effect in the guitar playing in Nautilus, which comes from, you have a lot of that in Indian classical music. It's almost like hypnotic.
Excellent. I'm glad you're hearing that, though. That's good.
We're going to hear a track called The Apple. I decided, because you're not really pushing any particular singles from the album. Here's the album to radio and television and whatever, and play whatever you want. So I chose the title track in The Apple. Set this up for us. What is that about?
First of all, in terms of arrangements, there's something interesting happening. There's 2 drummers playing at once. But in terms of lyrics, maybe a little topical with everything that's happening in the world, and asking an innocent question about whether we can all get along together.
Right.
As simple as that.
And before we cut to the chase and go right to the track, why two drummers?
It was something that the producer was toying with because he had produced a band doing Allman Brother covers.
Right.
And he loved the feel. He said, Hemant, let's see if we can get a deep groove for this song.
Right.
And that's a really neat way to do it, having two drummers playing in tandem. You don't hear that all the time.
And you had to pay for both of them.
Oh yeah, but it was well worth it. And those one of the drummers plays with I'm having a block here.
Right. It'll
Keith
come to-
Urban.
Keith Urban, yeah.
The other drummer played with Steely Dan and George Benson.
Nice.
They're ringers, so I had no problems with footing that bill.
All right, this is the album's called Nautilus, Brassard's own Hemant Rao. This track is called The Apple.
I used to be the apple of your eye. It doesn't fall far from the far from the far from the tree. Its history was remembered as a song. How can we all be together, together, yet all be alone? Can we coexist or is it lunacy? Can we coexist or is it lunacy? Can we coexist or is it lunacy? Can we coexist?
That one's called The Apple from Brossard. That is Hemant Rao, our guest today for New Music Tuesday. Check out his brand new album. It's called Nautilus.
Ironic, the refrain that we hear in the track that we just heard, The Apple, with everything going on in the world, is can we coexist today? Can we coexist? Can we coexist? Fitting for the times that we're living in. The interesting thing is that when you play live, even with these fully produced tracks, you play solo, whether you're doing it acoustically, you're doing unplugged versions of it, stripped down, or you play electric, but you perform solo.
Indeed, it's out of practicality I started doing that. In Vancouver, I played with bands
because you spent
as well.
$300,000 on these session musicians
Right.
at this point.
Close to it.
You don't have much money for a backing band left. But I think that also shows somebody's true musicianship and their skill to be able to do that.
Right on. And for the band, if where there's the will, there's the way. A
He's
band will
spending,
be
folks.
in the future.
The name of the album is Nautilus, Brossard's own Hemant Rao. Thank you so much for dropping by.
Thanks for having me. What a pleasure.
Thank you so much for being here. That is Hemant Rao. Look out for that album, Nautilus. And Duke, you're going to be back after 4 o'clock. I love the theme this week, spring songs, because